Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Asna Shaikh, and I am the Marketing, Communications, and Events Coordinator for the Magazine Association of BC, where we unite a diverse network of BC magazines through partnerships, programs, and projects. On behalf of Mags BC, welcome to Selling Digital Advertising to Clients Who Prefer Print. I would like to acknowledge the Government of Canada's financial support for this webinar, with additional funding provided by Creative BC. Our guest speaker today is Danielle Labrie, who is joining us from the traditional and unceded lands of the Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. Danielle will share effective and tangible strategies to convince your clients to make the move from print to digital advertising.
My name is Danielle Labrie, and I am the publisher of the Light Construction Group at Annex Business Media. Annex Business Media is Canada's largest B2B media company. We have over 65 titles. The markets that we cover range from agriculture, construction, manufacturing, retail services, and much more. We have 2 office locations and a print plant located in Ontario, which is where I am located today. I have been with Annex Business Media for almost 12 years now, and throughout my time there, I've had the opportunity to work on several of our different publications before moving into the current role that I have now. And prior to starting at Annex about 20 years ago, my media career began in the newspaper industry, where I started my first newspaper job at the Brantford Expositor, where I started as a summer student, and I was proofing ads. So I got to spend my summer driving around Brantford and just taking out ad proofs and working with the ad reps, which was a lot of fun. And then I moved to the Hamilton Spectator, where I started as a sales assistant and then moved my way up into a role of an account manager. So over my years in media, I've had the opportunity to work in both B2B and B2C markets. And I also have had the opportunity of working in the media industry prior to digital being something that we were selling. When I started at the Hamilton Spectator, the website was not launched yet. And if it was launched, it was in the very early stages of doing so. And in the beginning, I recall that conversation was more about how are we going to bring in revenue from our readers by getting them to pay a fee to have access to our content online, right? So we were hoping that people would pay to have immediate access to our news versus waiting for their morning newspaper to come. And we weren't really discussing how we were going to make money off of media sales by selling digital inventory. So a lot of the times what we were doing was we were taking that inventory that was available on the website and bundling it into our current print programs, making it a little sweeter deal by including a few months of digital advertising. And if we weren't bundling it and giving it away for free, then we were actually charging very low rates for it. So, and some of us still might be doing that today. We're taking our digital inventory, our websites, our newsletters, and we're using it as added value to a print campaign in order to continue with those print advertising programs. And there's a couple of issues with this, of course. One of them is that we are training our traditional print advertisers to pay very little or nothing for digital inventory, which is actually in high demand right now. But we're also training them to believe that our readership, our audience that we're driving to our websites or that we're delivering our newsletters to have no value, right? By saying or giving it away for free or charging a very low cost for it, we're saying there isn't as much value there as there is with our print readers that you're used to spending this certain amount for. And we all know that's not true. We know that our audience are very targeted and they're the right audience for our customers and the right eyeballs that they want looking at their ads. So there's a lot of value to this inventory. And like I said, especially now as we see print declining, these opportunities and these products are in high demand. So we really want to change those habits if we are still in the habit of doing that. So today we're going to look at ways that you could, maximize your profit through digital advertising. We're going to look at some digital tactics that you can present to your advertisers that will allow you to bring in the same type of revenue that you're used to seeing in print advertising. We're also going to talk about how do we transition somebody who isn't currently doing print or digital advertising over to digital opportunities. What is the conversation? How do we make them feel comfortable doing that? And we're just going to really talk about the importance of having a mix of digital and print. So print revenue is declining. We've been seeing this decline for years. We saw it pretty dramatically in the newspaper industry. And we've seen that same trend happening in the B2B market. It has happened on a slower scale, but we're seeing it year over year. Print revenues are going down. And that is increasing the need and the opportunity to sell digital advertising. You know, over the years, the increase in digital media consumption has continued to erode the market proposition for print media. And the adoption of tablets and mobile devices is making it challenging to continue just pushing print on our advertisers when they are looking for a different way to engage with their audience, and when they know that their audience is consuming content in a different way. We've also faced some challenges, like many industries. The publishing industry has faced some challenges over the last 18 months through the COVID-19 pandemic. Part of the problem was a lot of our readers were pushed to their homes. We had a work from home order. So our readers were no longer in their offices, which traditionally was where a lot of our magazines were being sent. During the pandemic, a lot of marketers stopped and said, okay, we're going to put a hold on what we're doing in print because we need to rethink how we're doing this. And of course, that drove a lot of people to digital opportunities. And if you didn't have a digital product during this time, that would be very difficult for you, because your advertisers weren't just stopping advertising. They weren't just putting everything on hold. They were just looking for new ways to reach the market where they felt confident that their message was getting out to the right audience. So over the last 18 months at Annex, we have seen a decline in print and a surge in digital. And I can tell you that what we have seen is that over the last 18 months, digital ad spend is up 32% over 2020. We're up 40% over 2019. And that's not including our virtual events. If we actually added in our virtual events, then we're 40% over 2020 and 50% over 2019. So it's a pretty significant increase in digital growth. And going forward, what are we expecting to see? Well, in 2021, print's going to account for less than 50% of Annex revenue mix. And how are we making up that other mix of revenue? Well, it's coming from digital advertising, all different types of digital, virtual events, which I mentioned before, and we'll talk a little bit more about later, and our e-commerce business. So Annex has a bookstore division, and so that is doing very well this year as well. What are some of the digital tactics that we're seeing hold strong at Annex? Well, video is one source of one digital tactic that works very well. You can use it in different ways. These can be hosted on websites. These can be delivered in Eblast. There's a lot of different things you can do with video. And we know that everyone has a mobile device right now. People are watching videos more than ever before. YouTube is receiving more than 3 billion searches every month. And we can all just talk about the popularity of TikTok, right? My kids could spend hours watching videos on TikTok. So videos are engaging. They're 3 times more engaging than an image or some text. And it's a great opportunity to get information out to people in a very short period of time. Webinars has become a very good revenue stream for Annex. We are up 135% in 2020. Our first webinar we hosted was in 2012. And at that time, Annex was hosting around 10 to 12 webinars a year. At this point, we are now hosting upwards of 150 webinars a year. So again, webinars have become a very meaningful source of revenue at Annex. Virtual events. We've talked about, I mentioned virtual events earlier. So events is a strong business for Annex. When COVID hit and everything stopped, that was concerning because all of our live events had to completely stop. Many of them that were ready to go and we were ready to move forward just ended. There's nothing we could do. So we had to pivot very quickly, as many people did, to look at how are we going to recoup this revenue? What are we going to do? So we have a fantastic events team that moved very quickly to find platforms that would work for our markets. And we ended up with 2 different platforms, one that would host a conference style event that was more based on a sponsorship package, and another one that was a trade show style. So there was opportunity for virtual exhibitor booths. And we recouped 70% of the profit that we had in our event business. So it was a good source of revenue for us. Podcasts is still a small business at Annex, but there's definitely an opportunity for growth there. Our first podcast was in 2018, around 2018. And now pretty much all of our brands have touched on a podcast in some way. In the light construction group, our 4 brands all have their own monthly podcasts that come out. And most of our other brands are doing, they'll do different types of series, education series, or whatever fits best in their market. They're great. Podcasts are great because they're convenient. They're on demand, so people can listen at their convenience. And it's a great way to really inject a little bit of personality into your brand and have a casual conversation. And they're a lot of fun. People are becoming more accustomed to listening to podcasts, so the popularity is growing. And again, it's something that it's an opportunity of growth for Annex. And then the last one is lead gen. Again, these are in no particular order, but lead generation opportunities. And these can be done in many different ways. Annex has several different ways that we can provide lead gen to our customers, but they're really important right now with the fact that trade shows and meetings and face-to-face meetings with customers just aren't really happening. We haven't got back to where it used to be, and customers still need to provide their sales teams with a list of leads. So the fact that we can offer these is a really good source of revenue, and they're selling very well across Annex. Actually, when I look at some of our markets, we're almost sold out of some of our lead gen opportunities going towards the end of the year. So a good source of revenue to consider. So when we start the conversation with our advertisers who have been doing traditional print advertising, have not sort of dipped their toe into digital advertising, I really think it's important to start by ensuring that they understand that we are not suggesting that print advertising is dead, or that print advertising doesn't work, or that people aren't reading our magazines. In B2B, we know that's not true. Print still plays a very powerful role in placing your advertiser's message in front of their customer. Most of us are working in very niche markets, meaning that our magazines are a trusted source of information and potentially one of the only sources of information that they can turn to find out very specific and important information of growing their business is where they go to read about their industry peers. We're not a breaking news source. You can't just go and Google the information that we're sharing in the pages of our magazine. So because of all of these reasons and probably many more, we know that our readers are going to continue to read our magazines. We're not asking people to add digital to their campaign because it's not working. We're asking them to add digital to their campaign because we also know that our readers and their customers are consuming content in different ways, and we want to be able to provide opportunities for them to continuously reach their customers. So I think it's really important to talk about that. It's also really important to let them know that you're not suggesting that they stop doing print advertising. When I'm putting together a proposal for someone, unless I'm otherwise asked not to, I always include print in the proposal. I'm very rarely just pushing out a digital program because we're asking them to mix it up. We're asking them to reach their customers in many different ways. So we just want them to know that we still very much believe in our print products as we move towards different digital opportunities. And so then we're going to have the conversation of, why should you add digital when, print seems to be working fine? If the readers are still reading the magazine, why should I be adding digital to my program? Well, one of the things is market reach. We want to maximize your marketing reach throughout your campaign and throughout the year. So we have a print schedule that comes out. A lot of my publications come out 6 times a year. But there's a lot of things that are happening in the market between those 6 issues that come out. Their advertisers' customers are making purchasing decisions between those 6 issues. And we know that people and buyers need several different touch points before they're going to make a purchasing decision. So by adding digital to your advertisers' campaign, you're going to allow them to continue having these touch points. You're going to allow them to have the opportunity to stay top of mind and keep their brand in front of the people that they want considering them when they're making these decisions. So this is just an opportunity to maximize your reach in the market and continuously throughout the year. Another thing is engagement. what are the things that you can do in digital that we can't offer in print? And we know there are quite a few things. There's an opportunity like with video. You can really tell a story in a very short period of time to customers. You can demo your products on a video. You can talk on a podcast. So you can, even if it's a website ad or an Eblast delivery, you can have a call to action that's asking your customer to do something or to click through to something that they can do immediately that we can't ask them to do in print. So that level of engagement is a little bit greater and just a little bit different than what we can currently offer in print advertising. Lead generation, we've talked about that already. Probably most of the RFPs you guys are getting come through, they are asking for lead gen opportunities. Without face-to-face contact, it's very difficult to find new leads. You're not picking up business cards at trade shows. So we're able to provide a list that then they can provide to their sales team to go out. So this one is a little bit about managing expectations, knowing your market, knowing what your customer can expect to see. But it's a really great service that you can offer. And it's great if you can offer lead gen in a couple of different ways, which we'll talk about some lead gen that we offer at Annex later in the presentation. But it's a really important thing to talk about with your customer when they're considering digital. And the last is it's measurable. Everyone wants to know now. Everyone wants to know what the ROI on their advertising is. And we all know that it's very difficult to provide that with print advertising. So the fact that we can actually talk to an advertiser about how their message, how readers are engaging with their message is important. They can take it back, and you can often have a conversation if you're doing, you're adding a year of digital, let them know. We'll sit through halfway through the program and we'll have a look and we'll see how it's working. And if we can change something, if we're not getting the engagement that we're expecting, it's something that we can't really offer in print. And the thing again with this is with these types of reports that you're able and analytics that you can offer, just really be sure that you manage your customers' expectation ahead of the campaign. You understand what their goals are. Is it brand awareness? Is it lead gen? What is it you're looking for? So we can really talk about what you can expect to see from our market. So we really know how to gauge whether your program is successful or not. Again, when you're sort of talking in these beginning stages of adding some digital to your program, you really want to keep it simple for your advertiser. At this point, if an advertiser hasn't already added digital to their campaign, I'm going to assume that they may not be comfortable with digital advertising, or they may be nervous about creating the ads that need to come with this or anything that comes with it. I'm not a tech savvy person, so I understand that how overwhelming some of these things can seem if you don't know what you're doing. We're very lucky at Annex that we have a digital department who stays on top of everything that's happening in the industry, and they come to us and teach us about the new offerings that we might have. So we're lucky that way. And so it's important that you make it as simple as you can for your customers. They're sort of looking at how they can transition into something new. The one thing I think is important in conversations that I've certainly had with people who are new to digital is letting them know that this is still the niche audience that you have always been reaching, right? The audience hasn't changed. It's just a new way of reaching that audience. I'm just offering a new platform. So the message can stay the same. All of the value of a readership is still the same. It's just reaching them a different way. You also really want to make creating the ads as simple as possible for your advertisers. So templates are very important. This is an easy way, we've been giving our advertisers spec sheet for ads forever. This is a way that you can provide your advertisers with a digital spec sheet and tell them exactly what you need from them. If we're going to put out an Eblast, okay, great, no problem. Send me an image, send me X number of words, send me a headline, and send me a URL link. Like, make it simple and then create it for them. And this always makes them feel a little bit more at ease that there's not too much that they need to do on that end to make something like this happen. Because a lot of them, especially if you're working in really small niche businesses, they might not have a marketing department, right? So they don't have someone who knows how to create digital ads. So keep it simple for them. It's also really important from our end to have a template as well. Just for brand awareness on our side of things, right? It's we want people to recognize our newsletter coming through. We want them to always look nice and clean. We want to make sure that we're keeping our brand awareness out there as well. And we're not reinventing the wheel every time you're pushing something out. Right now, as mentioning, we have 65 brands at Annex, and all of those brands are selling digital advertising. If we weren't following a template across the company, it would be really difficult to be efficient and getting these messages out quickly to the market. So templates are a great way to do that. If you're going to get into webinars and podcasts, it's really important to have somebody internally that can own that process for you. Again, we have a team that runs our webinars for us, and they know how to run these very well. So they can keep it very, very simple for the customer. People can get nervous to do webinars and to facilitate these things. So, and if you're not tech savvy, like myself, it seems very intimidating to have to go and do something like this. So to have a team on your end who can own that, who can walk your customers through, is going to make it a lot easier to sell those products for you. And then as mentioned before, you always want to manage expectations with all of these products that you're offering. You want advertisers to understand, you know, what are good results, what are good click-through rates, what are good open rates, you know, what tactics are going to help me reach the goal that I'm trying to in this program. And having those conversations up front are going to make it a lot easier to manage the sale, manage the expectations, and then continue with those programs year after year. So we'll start now going through some of the tactics that are working at Annex. Some of these that we're going to go through are very basic. I'm sure you're all offering them. We'll just talk about some of the different things that we're doing with those products that might give you some ideas to take back to your customers. But a lot of these are simple things that you can start offering for someone who's sort of new into the digital world. And it's just great ways to get started. So the first thing we'll talk about is website advertising. I find a lot of advertisers that are sort of starting in that shift from print to digital immediately think about web ads. They're comfortable with web ads, excuse me. They probably have a website themselves. So we know that web advertising is great for brand awareness. Our websites are reaching the right audience that your customers want to reach, because we are the ones driving customers there. So we know that by having an ad on there, we are putting their brand and their products in front of the right people. But we also know that click-through rates are declining. They've been declining since 2015. People are used to seeing digital ads, web ads all the time. So the chances of us clicking on something have certainly declined year over year. So this is one of those opportunities where you can really have the conversation about what is the goal of the campaign. If the goal of the campaign is to create leads, placing someone on a website is probably not the right thing to do, right? But if it's brand awareness, this is a great opportunity to include in the program for brand awareness. What we have done at Annex to create some real excitement and premium opportunities on our websites is we've created these premium exclusive positions. So if you, on the screen, you're going to see here that we have at the top, the certainteed ad. That's something that we call a top billboard. And that's actually a new ad placement for us. And it has great exposure and it's run of site. So as people are moving around the website, they're continuously seeing your customer's ad. So again, great way for brand awareness.
The same with our wallpaper ad, which you'll see on either side of the screen.
These are really high impact positions. Like I said, they're exclusive. So only one advertiser is going to have them that month. They're not shared positions. As people move around the sites, their ads continuously in front of the advertiser. So it's a great opportunity. And because these are premium and they're exclusive and they're run of site, it's an opportunity to ask for a little higher price point than you might with your traditional big box leaderboard ads that are on the website. These are great positions to offer to someone who might always want to be on the outside back cover of your magazine or the inside front. They're willing to pay that premium cost to have that exclusive position. Here's an opportunity to add this to their program as also an exclusive opportunity. Main thing is when you're getting into these premium positions, don't discount, don't train your advertisers that they can get a discount on these positions. Like I said, they're high impact, they're exclusive, and they're the best performing positions on the website. So you want to hold those rates where they are. The next is going to be our industry newsletter. So everybody probably has an industry newsletter. If you don't, you certainly should have an industry newsletter. It's one of the opportunities we talked about earlier where allows you to stay connected to your industry and your readers between publications. So much is happening in our markets all the time that we need to continuously share that news with our readers. So a newsletter is the way to do this. In the markets that I work on, the frequency of the distribution varies. One of the publications is a weekly, and then the others are bi-weekly. So it really depends on the content, and you work with your editor to determine that. But these are great ways to keep your customer in front of the readers as well. So for someone who is new to digital advertising, this is a great option to pitch, because they allows them to stay connected to content and connected to the news and our brand and the news that we're sharing, which a lot of print advertisers like, right? They want to be connected to industry news. So here's a great product that's going to allow you to do that. Because it's industry news and people have subscribed to receive this, they want to know what's going on. Our open rates are very good. So brand awareness is going to be high on these. And it's a way to have a timely marketing message sent out to the industry. So very good way to build brand image and product awareness. From our side of things, it's a really good way to generate revenue. Your newsletter should have multiple ad units on there, which will allow you to sell more advertising per delivery. So on any of our newsletters, we can have up to 7 different advertisers on there. We have our traditional leaderboards and big boxes. And then we also added a high impact position called a sponsored spotlight is what we call it. And you'll see it at the bottom with the yellow background, the EDCO ad. This is a sponsored spotlight. This runs within the body of the e-newsletter. It allows your customer to have some sponsored content that they can include as well as an ad. It's the best performing position that we have on our newsletter. And again, it's a premium. It's a high impact position with a premium, which then allows us to apply a premium cost to it. On our newsletters, we can have up to 2 of these on each newsletter. So it's a great way to have these different options. It's a great way to have different price points. So you can meet all of your advertisers' needs. And then with every delivery, you're going to be able to bring in a good amount of revenue because you have, 6, 7 positions that you can sell to your advertisers. Very easy templated format. So again, in terms of advertisers building ads or creating material for this, is very simple. You can send them a spec sheet. It always stays the same in terms of the format and the layout, and we like to maintain our editorial advertising ratio, so that's 60-40, because this is driven by content, right? This is what people are looking for, this for news, and we want to make sure that this is a content driven delivery. So a great opportunity to bring in revenue for your publication. An exclusive e-blast. We're all familiar with exclusive e-blasts, and I can assure you that your advertiser is familiar with exclusive e-blasts as well. They're probably receiving them from any other business that they might deal with when they're signing up at a store. Everyone's sending out e-blasts. So the nice thing with exclusive e-blasts is that this is something that you can ask for a higher price point because it is exclusive to your customer. So I always like to use that word exclusive when I'm selling these e-blasts, because I want them to understand that this is not a shared product. Like the newsletter, you're going to have several different advertisers on there. With an e-blast, it's yours. You can put out whatever message you want to, as long as it's not offensive to anybody else. These are going to allow you to have a timely delivery. They're measurable, and we provide lead gen reports with our exclusive e-blast. So not only are they, you're controlling the content of them, you're also going to get a report of leads that you can share then with your sales team. So exclusive e-blasts definitely should have a premium rate on them because of what you're offering and the value there. And you are going to have a template as well, making it very simple for your advertiser to create something. So, we will actually create it on our end. So if our advertisers are sending in an image, their text, their links, their call to action, and we can help put it all together and send them a proof, just like we would a print ad, and they approve it and it can go out. So like anything else that you're offering lead gen reports, analytics on, you want to make sure that you manage expectations. Again, if you have a list of 2,000 people that are getting your e-blast, you don't want a new advertiser to think that they're going to get 2,000 leads. So you really want to talk about what they can expect to see, what the industry average is for open rates, and then work with them on creating a good call to action to make sure that they get the best results that they can. And eConnect is something that we also offer at Annex. So this is something that has worked very well in our contractor market. And what it is, it's a shared Eblast. So again, I talked about, having that premium rate on an exclusive Eblast, because you can really sell the fact that this is exclusive to them and they own and control that content. On an eConnect, they do own and control the content within their space. However, there are going to be other advertisers on that space with them. So we like to have it around 4, maybe 5 advertisers per delivery. And the nice thing about this is an opportunity to offer a digital product to maybe someone who doesn't have that same budget as someone who's doing an exclusive Eblast. And we can offer these at a bit of a lower rate because we're sharing the delivery. So, essentially what we do is we take the cost of our one-time Eblast and then we divide that by 4 advertisers, for instance, to make sure that we're still bringing in the same amount of revenue per delivery, but we're able to offer it at a lower price point to our customers. So it's still a great way for them to add digital to their program, just at a lower cost. We still offer lead gen with these deliveries. So they're still going to get those analytics and information. These actually get excellent click-through rates, and our advertisers are very happy with them. So the next thing we're going to talk about is video. We talked about how video is very engaging and everyone is sort of familiar and used to looking at videos at this point. So we went to our advertisers and we said, we would like to host a video with you that would essentially be like a booth tour if we were at a trade show. So we'll get on a call with you, you have a camera, it can be an iPhone, and we're going to have our editor talk to you and we're going to have you walk us through a new piece of equipment, exactly like you would if you were at a show. And I'm going to try and share this with you.
Dave Bison from National Hose. Thanks for joining us at the Rental Mart. How you doing?
Good, Patrick. Good to see you.
Yeah, this is neat. We have to do this the weird way. We're having our booth tour out in your warehouse there. Obviously, what's
Yep.
So Dave, why don't you start off and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Dave Bison. I'm with National Hose for 10 years. I am the sales manager.
You've been in business for 40 years. Tell us what's new at National Hose these days. What have you got to show the folks today?
Certainly. Well, Patrick, we are very excited and pleased to share with the industry our brand new Eco Glow lay flat hose. As you're aware, and a lot of people in the industry are, National Hose brought out its very first DBP compliant hose 4 years ago in the market.
So as you can see from that video, this was a way that we were able to, again, allow our advertisers to demo and showcase their products that they had to offer in a time where they weren't able to get out face to face. It was very easy to do. The nice thing about video being so popular now is people aren't expecting the perfectly edited videos anymore. They are very accepting of this type of video done with an iPhone. As long as you had a microphone, it worked well. And we were able to sell these in a sponsorship style package, which allowed us to ask for a higher price point. So we weren't just selling the video itself and the edits of that video, which of course was part of it. We were also selling the package of promoting it around it. So we were able to ask for that higher price point depending on your market. We're not only going to record the video, we're now going to make sure that the market sees that video. So that's going to be through our Eblast promotions. It's going to be through something on the newsletter. It's going to be something that we're going to push out in our social media channels. So we're going to have this video created for you, and then we're really going to promote it and push people to watching this video. We also provided the advertiser with a link to this video, so then they were able to share it on their social platforms and with their customers. And in this time, they were actually using this as a sales tool because they weren't able to get out. They didn't have the means internally or the comfort internally to create a video like this. So this was a great resource for them, and probably something that people would still be interested in doing now, because even though people are getting back out face to face, we're not quite where we want to be in terms of that face-to-face contact. So it's a really good opportunity for you to put together some really great packages and provide a service to your customer that they really are looking for. So next is podcasts and webinars. We talked about how well webinars are working at Annex, up 135% from last year. Webinars are a great way to create brand awareness. It's a great way to educate the market and be seen as, you know, an industry leader. And there are measurable results, of course, because you're asking people to register for this, so you're able to tell them how many people came and watched and took part in something like this. So it's a really good opportunity, and people are interested in them, and they like to provide this service. If you are in a industry, so for Glass Canada, for instance, is one of my publications, and architects is a big part of that readership. And so architects need education credits. So every 2 years, they have to meet a certain level of education credits, and webinars allow us to offer that opportunity for our advertisers. So our readers can get credits by watching these. And then we talked about podcasts. And again, we talked about how these are an on-demand technology. So it's very convenient for listeners. They're able to listen to it when it works best for them. It's a great opportunity for advertisers to create some personality and build relationships with the listeners. They're very easy to facilitate. You know, our editor will jump on a Zoom call because it's much easier to have a face-to-face conversation. We're just using the audio of that conversation. So both are great options. As the sales manager, you're going to have to determine what's best for your customer. Obviously, if they need to show something, if it's a video or slideshow or anything like that they need, then a webinar is going to be the right way to do it. Another thing that you need to think about is the timeliness of it. You know, webinars you need people to register. There's a specific time that you're asking people to come to watch and listen to the webinar. So you need to make sure that's fitting in your market, whereas podcasts, again, it's convenient. They can listen when it's good for them. You kind of determine what works best for you. Both of these are great opportunities to create a sponsorship package. And again, sponsorship packages allow you to ask for that higher price point, bringing up that revenue closer to what you would normally see in a full page print advertisement. You're going to want to break down that package for your customer. So when they're buying the webinar, they understand they're not just buying the webinar itself, all right, the opportunity to speak, which has a great amount of value on its own. You're also buying the promotional package that's going to go along with that. And you want to break that down so they understand why you might be asking $6,500 or whatever is fitting for your market. You really want to show them the value of what's included in that, because with a webinar, for instance, we like to start with around 4-week promotional campaign to make sure that we're really pushing that registration. So that's a lot of a brand awareness that you're going to be getting as we're pushing out and driving people back to register for this. People are going to understand that you are the sponsor of this, and you're getting all of that recognition leading up to the webinar itself. And then there's the opportunity, whether you allow them to bring in a speaker or not, that's up to you, but then you can also price point that a little bit differently, right? If you want to be a sponsor of our session, great, this is what the price is going to be. But if you want to bring in an expert to speak about something that's really specifically related to your business, then here's the price point I'm going to offer. So these are great ways, again, to bring in a little more revenue than what you're going to see in your traditional banner advertisements on the digital side of things. And then to kind of bring it all full circle, another thing that we're seeing a lot of is sponsored content packages online. Again, great opportunity to create a really nice package that allows you to ask for that higher price point. So it's you can really find a way to incorporate a lot of value into that program for them. So one of the programs that we have is we have an opportunity where we have a freelancer who actually will interview and write an article for them. That article is going to be hosted and pinned on our website for a 2-week to a month period. Again, you determine what works best in your markets. Then we're going to promote that article in an e-blast, right? We're going to send out an e-blast. We're going to let people know about this article, and we're going to drive people back to the article, which is on our website. So it's great for us for bringing traffic back to our website. Also great for the advertiser because they're getting that awareness, and they're getting an e-blast sent out, which we will provide them a lead gen report. So there's your lead gen in the content package. We're then going to promote it again in one of our newsletters. This is all within the time frame that the article is sitting on the website. So again, we're going to drive people back to our website through a sponsored content article on our newsletter. And they're going to get a report from that. So again, here's another lead gen opportunity within your sponsored content package. And then we're going to take the article and we're also going to push it out on our social media platforms. So we're going to drive traffic from there back to the website and let people know about you. And you're going to get that brand awareness on our social sites. And again, there's a lot of value behind this. So you want to look at what does it cost for your freelancer to write it? You know, what is the typical one-time rate for our Eblast? What is the cost that we think of the value of hosting something on our website? And these can range, you know, depending on your market and what your market can bear and what your costs are. You know, these can range anywhere from, you know, $5,000 to $10,000 packages that you can pitch to your customers. And believe me, they are going to see a great amount of value in this, because just because they're not looking at print advertising or they're thinking of other ways does not mean that they're not looking for these really specific sponsored opportunities where they can control the content that they're putting out into the market. And they want to do that with a trusted source and a trusted brand such as yours. So those are the products that are, some of the products that are working. Annex has a lot, you know, with 65 brands, there's a lot of different things that are being offered. So if there's something that we didn't talk about today that you're trying, please let me know, or something that you've heard about and want to know if we're doing it, by all means, reach out and ask, because if I can't answer that question, somebody at Annex can, I'm sure. But some of the key points we talked about today were, you know, again, just keeping it really simple for your customers, especially if they are really brand new to digital. And they're just looking at adding something. Just keep it simple, show them some simple options that aren't going to be too overwhelming for them. Make sure they understand that this is a way to maximize their marketing reach. It is not something that they're just pulling from one to change it to another. This is a way to reach their customers on all different levels. This is a great opportunity to collect lead gen, especially right now when face-to-face is limited and trade shows are still limited. Lead gen is a great service that we can provide to you. Engagement, you know, try something different, try something new, and look for new ways to engage with your customers, and then just mix it up. You know, try and incorporate all the different tactics that are available out there to you, including print, some digitals, you know, try some video, test things out and see what works best for you and what your customers will engage with most, and go from there. I hope that there were some options or some ideas that you think would be a good opportunity to take back and offer to your advertisers.
So the first one for you, Danielle. Sylvia Skeen asks, how do you figure out what is a reasonable click-through rate and other metrics? How do you manage expectations in that sense?
Yeah, so for us at Annex, we are able to sort of take the last year. Our digital team will look at the deliveries over the last year in our markets and then provide us with like an average for the year. But you can also sort of do some research in the industry you're in. It's always going to be sector by sector. So there's no overall great open rate or click-through rate. It's going to depend on what your market is. So you can do a little bit of research. You can, you know, look at even competitive magazines, see if they include that information in their media kits, what their average open rates are. IAB Canada provides a lot of information about digital marketing, so you can go on there and do a little bit of research to see sort of what standards there are. But it really takes a little bit of research by market to figure out what the average open rates and click-through rates would be. I can say for one of the markets I'm in is rental, Canadian rental service, and so we looked at the industry average that we were able to find, and you know the industry average was about a 35% open rate. And then when we look year over year for our own deliveries, you know, we're sitting at about a 38% open rate. So I always feel comfortable saying that we have a really good open rate when we're above what that industry standard might be. But that's really, again, going to depend on the research that you find. And maybe for the first, if you're just starting something, maybe it takes a little bit of while to have that information, to build that information. Yeah.
Sean Percy asks, what lists can we send to with our e-blasts? Do e-blasts ever cost newsletter subscribers? Do they ever unsubscribe?
Right. So we're Castle compliant, so we can't just, of course, send anything out to anyone. We need to have permission to send digital deliveries to them. So we have people who will subscribe for both our Eblast and our e-newsletters, which helps keeps our unsubscribe rates lower. Our lists are mainly going to be made up of our readers who have signed on to also receive our digital deliveries. We also, have worked with associations, or of course through trade shows, have gathered names and permission to add people to our e-news and Eblast lists. So that's how we sort of built that list. But we don't see a lot of unsubscribes because they're getting too many things, which is also why we only deliver one digital delivery a day in our markets, because we don't want to be pushing out too many things to our subscribers.
Sean also wants to ask, how do you price e-blasts and newsletters? Is it CPM?
We don't do that. Ours is cost per delivery. And I think the pricing would also be dependent on your market. How many subscribers do you have? What can your market bear? Sort of basing it off of what are they willing to pay for a full page or a half page print ad? What do you think you can get for your digital delivery? So I think you're really going to have to sit down and look at, what are the rates they're paying in your magazine right now, and then what can we ask for something in digital. But yeah, ours is not cost per thousand. We are just cost per delivery.
Danielle, this has been really a great presentation. Thank you. What would you consider? You said that click-through rates are declining. What would you consider a decent click-through rate on a newsletter?
On a newsletter, our click-through rates aren't declining. Our newsletter click-through rates are fairly good. Our website click-through rates have gone down, and I would have to go back and look at averages over the years to tell you, what they are in comparison to now. But we just know that we don't get a lot of click-throughs on the website. We get a lot of impressions. So we have people who are moving from the page to page and looking at the website and reading articles. So the number of impressions and page views are still good. But just ad clicks themselves are down. But I would have to go through and find exact numbers for you, because I don't have those off the top of my head. But our newsletter and Eblast rates, our click-throughs are in some markets still very good.
Sean Percy wants to ask again, so in your products, what is the e-newsletter ad or e-blast value compared to a full page ROP?
So in rental, for instance, I can say that a full page is going to be around the $4,000 mark, and an e-blast in rental we charge $1,500 for. So that's sort of the range there. And then our different positions on our newsletters are priced out a little bit differently. Our sponsored spotlight, which I talked about being sort of that high impact position, is about $600 per delivery.
And what's your distribution? Like, how big is your distribution on your
2,000 subscribers in comparison to 5,000 readers.
2,000 subscribers, and what kind of open rate?
Open rate's about 38%, and then click-through rate is about 4%.
And you're charging $1,500?
We charge $1,500. That's a rate card rate, and I'm not suggesting that every single advertiser is paying the rate card rate, but that's the rate card rate. Yeah. And in some of our markets, so Contractor, for instance, it has a much larger digital audience, so it's reaching about 12,000 in digital. And we charge about 4,000 for an Eblast, and in most cases are charging on rate card.
And that's an exclusive Eblast.
That's exclusive, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a big range depending on the reach, and again, that really comes with the value of what they're getting with that lead gen and control of that delivery.
When you're just to move away from the newsletters and Eblast and go back to website advertising, what would you charge? What are you charging for an ad on your website? Not the top one, not the premium one, but just your average, and what kind of how many impressions are you getting?
So again, it really depends. Like, I can only talk directly to my markets, which are actually smaller markets in comparison to some of the Annex markets. So So on our websites, on rental, you're seeing about 6,000 page views a month. And on a leaderboard ad, I'm probably charging I'm getting around $800 probably a month for that position.
So just want to pop in there just to point out that Scott Jameson, who's also with Annex Business Media, is also commenting in the chat feed. And he's mentioned that at Annex, their open rates vary from 20 to over 80%, depending on the market. So it's quite variable. Mm-hmm. And also that the e-newsletter ad or Eblast value, I think it varies from product to product and by ad unit, 3 to 9%. I'm sorry, I don't know what he means by 3 to 9% of what for e-news. Do you know, Danielle?
I was saying, I think Scott is talking about click-through rates.
Okay, great. And Scott has finally said that e-blasts vary from 1,500 to 6,000, depending on the market. Mm-hmm. So again, I think know your market, know what they can afford, and probably don't undervalue yourself too much, because it's all, you've got to do quite a bit of work here. So.
Yeah.
Is anyone else doing any of this? Like any of the viewers? We don't sell advertising on our website yet. But we did launch a weekly newsletter almost 3 years ago. It's been a long and slow climb, starting with a database of around 2,000 email addresses. I think we're up to 2,700 today. And our click-through rate hovers around 50%. Our open rate hovers around 50%. And our click-through last week was 25%. And we only do 3 stories. It's very simple, very clean. And I offer banner ads for a very nominal amount of money. And yet my clients, and I'm in agriculture, my clients aren't buying in.
Did they give you a reason? Because just on the numbers that you've just said to me, that is an excellent response to what you're sending out. And a lot of our markets, 2,000, it seems small, but I think it's really comparable to the market, right? How many people are there that you can reach in the market? So that number might be a great number.
That's really good to know, because I was horrified. I've gotten used to the numbers now, but I was horrified initially at a 50% open rate. I thought 90% of our people would open it because it's so clean, it's so simple, it is so, we're writing for a specific market. Mm-hmm. And those people subscribe to our print publication as well, or most of them do. And I was surprised, and we're genuinely surprised at the unsubscribes. Okay. On any given week, I have more unsubscribes than subscribes. And I can often tell just by their email address who they are, that they are legitimate readers of our publication. And I get notes from them saying, we prefer our news in print. I'm in a very traditional industry, and Annex is in that industry as well. Mm-hmm. So, I talked to my associate editor, like, maybe we should go to every 2 weeks. Like, this isn't making any money. It is more about brand awareness for our publication, but it's a lot of effort on his part, especially because he's the one doing all the writing. I just put it up every week.
Right.
It's just been a slow climb.
Well, I think, like I was saying earlier, I think that if you can sort of maybe change that story, the narrative, when you're talking to advertisers about the fact that those are actually really good rates. Those are good open rates. Those are very good click-through. You said 25% click-through rate. Those are good click-through rates. So I don't know, your newsletters, is it new content? Are you picking up like news throughout the week? What is the industry? Because our industry newsletters are news, like what's going on in the industry, what's happening. Is that the kind of content that you're including? I'm guessing, yeah.
It's the news between monthly papers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Danielle, any last thoughts?
No, thank you for having me. And yeah, if there's more questions, feel free to email. And like I said, if I can't answer them, I will definitely find those answers for you.